This is the Glitch Panopticon Season 1 Chapter 12. In this episode, we will be talking about two concepts, outlining the transmission of the Panopticon into our environment, and outlining how to eliminate its impact on our perceptions. To start out, there are two species of technology which are utilized by the designers of the Panopticon to shape our perceptions. Both ultimately rely upon the powerful human faculty to find patterns in chaos, a concept called pareidolia. Now, the first concept, which is the technology which is used to shape our perceptions, is called pattern embedding. The contrary technology is called chaos embedding. These two concepts or technologies represent converse but equally powerful forms of transmission. Let's start with pattern embedding. This is the fundamental technology of the Panopticon. It relies upon a similar faculty as which produces pareidolia, the seeing of faces and objects. The technology of pattern embedding involves the transmission of subliminal information within patterns in everyday communications. For example, let's say you are driving down the road. Let's say you are listening to the radio. You will instinctively change the radio station whenever it goes to static, putting it on a comprehensible language or music station. This natural instinctive consumption habit means that you are always consuming information. As such, pattern embedding involves the subliminal embedding of subconscious instruction into passive communications such as radio, television, or other forms of telecommunications. Any informational strata can ultimately be embedded in. From the music we listen to the movies or commercials we watch, to the movement of people in a crowded mall. Anything which has intrinsic informational content to it, can be a passive recipient of embedded subliminal instruction. The most meaningful form of information, however, comes not from technology but from our own verbal speech patterns. Thus, the vocal patterns that we encounter become the most effective form of strata for embedding of subliminal instruction. What this means is that our speech patterns turn us into transmitters as well as receivers. A person who is listening to a radio station receives the embedded subliminal content, while transmitting it subconsciously through their pattern movement, vocal patterns and emotional intonation. Pattern embedding is the most powerful technology on which the Panopticon relies. Now, what is chaos imprinting? Chaos imprinting is the development of thought patterns conditioned by chaotic structures. For example, you can reverse the programming of pattern embedding by attuning your radio to stations which are out of range, static, the more chaotic the more effective, and while listening to static at high volume, drowning out all ambient sound which can be used for pattern embedding, you can think clearly, in a new and unanticipated direction. Thus, what I call jamming is a technique which involves listening to static or chaotic sounds, at high volume, to drown out the ambient pattern sound, so as to develop an independent perception of reality. Pattern embedding is the most powerful form of subconscious imprinting, a process of conditioning which arises out of a technology developed originally by the US government through the MK Ultra program. It involves the embedding of a monologue within pattern strata which is audible or visually apparent to some receiver, being the recipient of the monologue. They then become a transmitter of the monologue through their pattern speech, body movements and hand language. Thus, the 9 plates play a role in this. As the 9 plates represent the 9 dimensions of meaningful expression, they are a fundamentally patterned set of stratas. By embedding distinct narrative monologues in each layer, a 9-fold set of narratives can be received and promulgated through the expressive language of a receiver. That's the end of the podcast for today. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment and subscribe.